When I first started streaming, one of the first things I brought up was how React was a cancer to the entire industry. And the reason why it's a cancer to the entire industry is because it's the perfect example of an easy button. When somebody offers you an easy button, what they're doing is they're playing to a psychological aspect of your ego. The psychological aspect is, I don't want to think, I don't want to put in hard work, I don't want to do something. This is why cults operate the way that they do. They allow you to hand off your thinking abilities to a cult leader who gives you a checklist of things to do. And as long as you follow the checklist, like, give me your money on a monthly basis, give me all your support, don't talk to anybody outside this cult, etc., 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 check off all these things, then you are guaranteed that God will love you because I, as the cult leader, am a divinely sent messenger from God himself. So you have a direct line and God is telling you to do these things. And when you look at religion as a whole, it's this big blob of ideas, and how the heck is your brain going to wrap your head around all that? And so there's an easy button. The easy button is the cult. That's what the cult gives you. It's a comfort blanket of checklists, and all you have to do is follow it. React is no different. Many things in the tech industry are no different. Vue, Svelte, Solid, you name it. NPM, Composer, Python, all of these things are all easy buttons. Some of them are more nefarious than others. Some of them do this more impactfully than others. AI is also a cancer to society in that it has packaged all the previous cancerous cult-like systems that we've created in the tech industry over the past 10 years and funded with VC funding and patted ourselves on the back with morons who want to ship fast, break it fast, get that money, get that exit, all of that. It's just all packaged up into a neat little bow called AI. AI is the speed run of all those stupid, moronic, cancerous decisions all put together so that you can do even less of the thinking that you were already asked to not do in the first place. If you think about it, it's almost like AI is the cult of cults. It's a multi-level marketing scheme where AI is the top of all cults and all subsequent cults all flow upwards to AI. AI is a cancer to society, especially when it is used wrong. If React could be used in its correct place, if AI could be used in its correct place, and you can make this argument for any third-party system that you import into your thinking process, then it would probably be okay. But unfortunately, like other cults, they like to just extend their little tendrils to everything that they can possibly touch, which is now why you have React on the server with React Server Components. It's why you have React Native. It's why you have TypeScript, which is just a convoluted roundabout way to get from JavaScript right back to JavaScript with the comfort blanket that at least at the point of compilation, you get type safety. All this stuff is absolute insanity, but it's all cult-like mentality that just says, you don't have to think, we've done the thinking for you, just install this thing, follow this checklist, and the tech gods will bless you in your life. You will be protected. That's exactly what this is. What we're missing is friction. And what this causes is a huge amount of bloat. And both of these have negatives and positives. Friction has a negative in that it's friction. Who likes friction? It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable when you have to take on a big idea and try and figure it out for yourself. It's uncomfortable when you have to try and struggle through a problem. But the positive is that when you do, you learn something. You exercise your brain. And we've covered studies, at least 5 of them, maybe more, where the lack of exercise of particular methods or a specific, what would you call them, steps to accomplish something, they cause atrophy in your skills and in your brain. Friction is the solution to that atrophy. And it's good for you. You want to have some level of friction. You don't want to have too much. You don't want to have too little. But when you start going into the direction of let's remove as much friction as possible, you become an idiot. And we can see this playing out with people who are saying that they have been vibe coding for the last few months, and then they ran out of tokens, and they stopped vibe coding for some reason, and they feel like they can't code anymore. This is a common thing I see almost every week, at least once a week on some social media platform. This thing atrophied my brain. Bloat comes from the AI speedrun of all these stupid moronic ideas that were packaged up. And the speedrun creates more code, because when you're not thinking and you just type in a prompt and you ask the AI system to generate code for you, and everybody does this in mass, then you're going to necessarily have more lines of code. What's the problem with that? It creates more vectors for problems. So we're actually doing ourselves in two different ways. One, everybody wants to make themselves more stupid. And two, it means that when a problem arises, it's going to be so difficult to figure out where the problem is, because there's so much code generated by AI at massive amounts, at massive rates than humans themselves could perform. And everyone's going to be too stupid to figure it out anyways. And this leads into the first article. The most valuable commodity in the world is friction. Hang on, folks. The author of this article is talking about friction not in terms of regulations or transaction costs, but the effort required to move through systems and how that effort is being redistributed in today's economy. We were taught that effort matters, that working hard, learning well, and building value would be rewarded. I sound a little like old man yelling at cloud, but I promise I have a point. We have a world where friction gets automated out of experiences, aestheticized in curated lifestyles, and dumped onto underfunded infrastructure and overworked labor. The effort doesn't disappear, it just moves. Digital world has almost no friction. That's the claim here. The physical world is full of it, and in certain curated spaces like the West Village or your AI companion, friction has been turned into something you can pay to remove. And the author literally created a chart as kind of like what the different types of friction, looks like. So you have physical friction, which is the yellow chart going up. You have digital friction, which is the purple chart going down. And then you have the curated world, which is friction optimal, which is in between. In the digital world, you have the average American has fewer than 3 friends. And I would like it to be 15. So here we go. Here's the Mark Zuckerberg impression. Okay, this is literally what Mark Zuckerberg said. The average American has fewer than 3 friends, fewer than 3 people they would consider friends, and the average person has demand for meaningfully more. I think it's something like 15 friends or something. The implication is that Meta will close that friendship gap with AI companions. Zuckerberg clarified they won't replace relationships, but supplement them. So there's a source of friction that's removed, which is how the hell do you make friends and talk to them and keep them around for a reasonable amount of time? Young people are spending much more time alone than in the past. Hours spent alone per day. Hours spent alone per day UK. So you have US, UK, and Europe. And the trend is insane between 2010 and 2023. You have Cluely. And so here again, you're removing a source of friction. Cluely apparently is going to make everything AI driven so that you have a nice, easy way to access AI so you can get through life with AI telling you what to do and what to say and everything around you, explaining everything around you, and so on. Everything accelerates until you forget what it means to try. Apps load faster, papers write themselves, job interviews are browser tricks, 60-hour raves just in your VR goggles, speech patterns converge, aesthetics flatten, even identity becomes an efficiency layer. New York Times Magazine has an excellent article on the prevalence of AI in colleges. One student said, college now feels like, how well can I use ChatGPT? Others describe writing essays as a coordination problem. Get the prompt, feed it to the bot, skim the output, add some filler, hit submit, no thinking required, just interface management. Students can still read books, they argue. They're just choosing not to. Students today are far more concerned about their job prospects than they were in the past. Every year, they tell Howley that despite enjoying what they learned in Lit Hum, they plan to instead get a degree in something more useful for their career. Then you have socialization collapse. Listen, we already have plummeting birth rates. And now what we're trying to do is get people to use AI to talk to each other. Bruh, we need you out there talking to girls. Okay? We need you out there making babies. This is what one student wrote. I spend so much time on TikTok, she said, hours and hours until my eyes start hurting, which makes it hard to plan and do my schoolwork. With ChatGPT, I can write an essay in 2 hours that normally takes 12. This is crazy to me. However, this is exactly what's happening in the tech industry as well. We have programmers, we have we have people who are extremely popular, we have influencers who are saying this kind of crap, who are promoting this kind of crap, and what they're doing is they're saying, hey, do you want to make more time for the stuff you care about? Well, don't worry, we have a cult-like checklist for you to follow. Just join our cult and use our thing, and you're going to be okay. Because this thing saves you time. And it's AI. Do you think American loneliness is going to get better? No, of course not. Because when you have AI to talk to, right? Now, in the physical world, friction still exists. As the Wall Street Journal reported, when the radar and radio systems failed simultaneously, air traffic controllers were reduced to telling pilots, we don't have a radar, so I don't know where you are. The failure traced back to a single multiplexer box that was scheduled for replacement hours before the outage, but never installed. This is in Newark. I have this article, and let me tell you why this happened. First of all, the air traffic control operations, like inside of the United States, is suffering from a lack of people who are willing to be air traffic controllers in the first place. They can't get enough people to do it, first of all. Second of all, when stuff like this happens, air traffic controllers get frustrated, they have to walk off the job, or they just stop coming back and they quit because they can't handle the stress. Imagine the stress of having tens or hundreds of people's lives in your hands when you're operating on a system that's outdated or not working correctly. And third, I have the article, but since we're kind of off the news thing, I'll go over it again in one of the news episodes, so don't worry about it. But essentially in Newark, do you know what happened? Do you know why this thing went down? Because it's physical friction. It went down because a copper wire got fried. That's right. That's called physical friction, right? And so the author continues to talk about how physical friction has a lot of things that you can't account for some of the time, and other parts of the time you can't even replace with automation. It's required, etc. And you can learn a lot from having friction in the physical world, where the argument would be that in some cases it's critical, it's necessary to have it there, right? And so you can learn something from that in the digital world as well, because ultimately, what is the digital world if not an extension of physical friction? The physical friction being the friction of using your brain. The curated real world is where you pay money to remove friction for you. So you can live an optimized lifestyle. You can live an entire life in West Village, which is a New York City neighborhood. You can live your entire life within a 5-block radius. Pilates, 3-drinker dinners, charm bars, espresso martinis, run clubs, spritzes, connection. It's great. So if you have the money, then essentially what you can do is you can just curate your life so that all kinds of friction is removed for you, and you can just live the nice, comfy lifestyle. The consequences of removing friction like this, and then they talk about like GDP and economic factors and all of that stuff. The consequences of removing friction are many. But in the scope of the tech industry, it comes down to what we're supposed to be doing as part of our responsibilities as programmers. And it's doubly tough It's tough in two ways because one, I think a lot of programmers understand that their responsibility is to use the friction of their brain to solve problems in a logical way, using logical capabilities, extracting ideas, reconverging them into ideas that you can execute in code that follows a logical pattern, etc., etc. These are all things we know. We know this to be true, but that's not what we're incentivized to do. So on the one hand, we don't want to be putting all our time and effort into every little thing. That gets frustrating real fast. And then on the other hand, we have people who pay the paychecks and hire you or fire you in some cases. You have colleagues, you have influencers who all tell you, no, 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 that's way too much effort. Don't do that. Don't use your brain. That's crazy. Use this other thing instead and extract your thinking abilities to a third party. So it's a particularly tough situation when you know what you have to do, but every incentive outside of yourself is to not do that thing. And the more that we do that, the more we're leading ourselves, especially with AI, into a very dangerous situation where we're not going to have anybody who knows how to do anything anymore. Everyone's going to be drooling from their mouths as they prompt away their code, and everybody's going to be hacking everyone. All your information is going to be public anyways. You're going to be putting in your Visa cards to AI systems anyways. So, at some point, it's like, what's the point of even trying anymore? That's where this is leading. What's the point of even trying anymore? Just take everything in your life and hand it off to a third-party system. You're good to go.